Hey folks, welcome back to my greenhouse. My name is Joe. Today we're going to be looking at a really important time of the year. It's the transition period between winter dormancy and the full growing season in late spring and throughout the summer months. What we're looking at in this transition period is basically getting our plants ready for the growing season. We're going to look at a couple of really important points to keep in mind now for this transition period. Point 1. Avoid sunburn. Avoid too strong and direct sunlight that may damage the outer epidermis of your plants. You might be surprised about the fact that a lot of cacti and other succulents are actually quite sensitive to getting sunburn, especially in the spring. All these plants are, of course, inhabitants mainly of dry and hot desert environments. Nevertheless, in cultivation, we will have kept them indoors or we'll have had them in greenhouses, but mainly through a period in the winter with significantly less sunshine and less sun intensity. That now changes in spring, and you can see from the wonderful weather that we have here as well that our plants are suddenly exposed to quite a bit of direct sunlight. So we need to protect them and we need to help them basically get back there into a state of their natural resistance. And during this transition period, we can help our plants by providing either extra shading, we can help by putting them into an area with indirect lighting, and the thing to really avoid is to have direct sunlight onto plants that may have just been misted or sprayed, because those tiny water droplets will actually act as lenses, and they'll focus the sunlight even more onto onto individual spots that will cause damage and sunburn to the outer skin, the epidermis. In my greenhouse, which during the winter months I actually insulate with bubble wrap plastic, the bubble wrap actually diffuses the direct sun rays, and so it gives a really quite nice diffused indirect lighting, if you like, to my plants. It's really critical though that the moment I take off in about 2 weeks time, mid-March, I take off the bubble wrap. That's when there's a critical period, and what I have to do is basically provide some extra shading on the outside of my greenhouse. This is the material I use as shading, and I have one layer of this basically just on the outside of my greenhouse, and it's just tied down with and held in place so that it doesn't get blown away during windier periods. But it's really important that this shading is there as soon as the bubble wrap is removed. Point 2, provide plenty of fresh air. It's vital that your plants actually have lots of air circulation, no stagnant air, and especially during the daytimes where temperatures are starting to rise outside, but also inside in the greenhouse, as well as in indoors if you're growing them indoors. Behind the glass of your windows and also in the greenhouse behind the glazing, temperatures are going to be rising quite quickly. So you want to avoid stagnant air, you want to get plenty of air movement and fresh air coming through. That will keep your plants from being attacked by pests, because if the plants are in stagnant hot air, not only will they run the risk of burning, as I said earlier, but they will also be very stressed. So plenty of fresh air and good air movement during the daytime. Beware though, close those windows well in time before the evenings, especially if temperatures drop below freezing, because as in the winter, you want to be making sure that your plants are actually in a frost-free location. Point 3. This is around watering, and now that our plants are transitioning from their quite dry dormant period into the full growth period, we've got to start watering our plants, and this is potentially a quite tricky time of the year. Watch out for a spell of warmer, sunnier weather. Avoid cool weather, dark grey weather without sunshine. And at the beginning of that period, start slowly with the watering of your plants. I wouldn't drench them, I wouldn't flood them. What I actually do is I spray or mist them, and in that way get them used to a bit more humidity, a bit more water, and you can actually see how your plants, from a sort of a shriveled appearance that they've taken on throughout the dry winter period, how they soak up literally that humidity and moisture that you're providing through spraying, and how they start to swell their stems and get ready for the new growth period. What you'll also see are new spines developing at the top of the plants, and you'll see buds starting to appear, a sure sign of the beginning of growth. Like I say, I wouldn't flood the plants the first time that you water them after the winter break. I would slowly get them used to slightly more humidity. I recommend that you just go through your plant collection and clear plants of any dead leaves or dried up flowers or any organic matter that may still be on or around your plants from last season's growth, and remove that maybe carefully, so that you don't offer fungi, for example, places to start growing and then infecting potentially your plants. So clear them, clean them, and get them tidy, get them cleaned up for the new growth period. Well, it's actually the ideal time, late winter to early spring, to repot your plants. Why? Because the root systems of last year's growth are now quite dry, and the new root system for the upcoming growth season has, of course, not yet been developed. And so take those plants that you want to repot carefully out of their existing pots, remove as much as possible of the old substrate and soil, remove the dried up thinner parts of the root system, and place them carefully into their new pots, adding the new mineral rich substrate to the new pots. It's important that when you've repotted your plants, don't water them for at least a couple of days, ideally a week or two. Let those root systems that you've removed and during the repotting process will have been partly damaged, they need to heal first, so that when you're watering, there's no risk of rot developing on those roots. Okay, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video and you found the tips useful. If you did, I'd really appreciate you giving me a thumbs up and subscribing to my channel. Check out the other videos on the channel, and remember, there's more to come with hopefully more interesting and useful topics for all of you fellow enthusiasts growing cacti and other succulents. Take care, happy growing, see you next time.